Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while, but apparently I'm being forced to talk. Forced to talk. I can tell you this is not my career choice or path choice or anything I'm particularly fond of doing, but also appears I have no choice. If you can take a look at the heavens now, you will see that Mercury is now in Aries, and that is my blazing fire midheaven. And it's got to come out. And, I'm locally, regionally trying to say that the same kind of things and is not being received very well. So, whoever my audience is, wherever that conglomeration of you guys who are gathering together to try to make some change and steer this big ship in the right direction, as the United States of America is not an authoritarian government, please give me a shout out. Yeah, I'd like to be done with this current misery amongst all of the systems here along the Gulf of Mexico. So I asked for a sign. Like I said, I should be doing my other things for my job or my career, whatever you want to call it. And I asked for a sign, and there it is. I get a text message on my cell phone from Coinbase with my access code. And Coinbase, you know how I feel about crypto, those little digits, and I definitely did not ask for an access code. So thanks in advance for robbing me of some more of my valuable low quantities of money as I'm still in this battle for this house and my primary fight for my son, who's now almost 24 years old, and after living through all of these systems every day, through school, in and out, which is why I went back to get my master's degree in the first place. I can tell you the future does look grim, and personally, I am tired of this pain and suffering, and I do not think my children or the rest of my family deserve anything else that's coming this way, so I will keep talking. Here we go. So today's talk, primarily, it's going to be about alternate assessments, and as I said, I just want to share what I can, and hopefully it gets to the right place. Before that, I'm going to make a quick note about something that I mentioned over the weekend or shared. I am uncertain if this is totally true, but if this gets pushed through government, it's very frightening. If only A and B graded schools will remain open as public schools, and then all other schools will be charter schools. Now, down along the Gulf of Mexico, especially in Florida, charter schools, big business. Thank you, South Florida. Way to go. Yes, but that is not for the good of all. And I will tell you this: the United States of America, federal law governs. State law can overturn local law. Federal law overturns state law. So all of those that are pushing for education, banking or faux banking, I mean, what do you want to call it? How many de novos do we have? Novo banks, mutations. I mean, come on here. We do not want state control. I can tell you that. So federal control is the way to go. As I said, this is not an authoritarian country. So I just wanted to mention that about the charter schools. That's a bit scary. In thinking of that, does anyone know who is in charge of this experience? Like, where exactly is this data collection going to, and for whose purposes? Because I'm pretty sure it's not for any of us down around here. Nope, that is not the case. So I will shift over to today's message and alternate assessments. And I also mentioned this briefly, in a post at the beginning of the weekend. Federal law. Okay. Alternate assessments are the product of IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, and Every Student Succeeds Act, which is from 2015 NCLB, No Child Left Behind, very, very, very much similar, or the same basically to ESSA. I'm not sure why we keep renaming things, but as far as the meaning of alternate assessments or the function, it is the same. It is the same. Only those children with the most significant cognitive impairments are to take alternate assessments or to have modified curriculum. The standards are never modified. The standards in all of the laws, and all of IDEA and ESSA/NCLB, both are under ESEA of 1965. That's the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA of 1965. So as far as anyone actually trying to do away with federal government and federal law, that's actually laughable. But I guess I'm just like crying for mercy for the people down here that sort of have to, endure this nonsense, this nonsense of the ages. So back to alternate assessment. There are basically three things I sort of wanted to touch on in regards to that. So let's talk about those that qualify, because I see that people or states, I suppose, are asking for the caps to be raised for more to take alternate assessments. It's almost as if students are failing to pass the standardized assessments. Perhaps that has to do with the teaching field, the decision-making field. I mean, who out there is coming up with this? I mean, what is it? Let's look at this. Oh, goodness. Computer adaptive tests. These are algorithm-driven tests. Let's see what it says here. They use algorithms to tailor the tests to each individual test taker, okay? And the test is different for each test taker. So how exactly is this a measure of standards? Adaptive standards. One thing I'm pretty sure standard. You really don't, you can't adapt them. No, if we're measuring against a standard, it's pretty much going to be standard. Yes, and progress monitoring. Progress monitoring is not a national or international testing company. Progress monitoring means formative feedback loops in a classroom with a teacher. True story. Norm referenced. Who is this norm? This norm in this country that we are qualifying as this group that all of the children taking so said adaptive standardized tests are being measured against, or whoever wants to call their little testing system criterion reference when you're using normative scales, and once again adaptive computers. I am truly at a loss. Okay, so back to what I was saying. This is the hazard that we are falling in with alternate assessments. And truthfully, as far as if you look at the data, those that would qualify of all of the children with disabilities in the country, in that 1% that truly would meet the needs, that would be, they would have a need in every IEP domain, curriculum instruction, social and emotional, independent functioning, independent living, leisure and recreation, adaptive, life skills. These people, these children, it may represent only 10% of all of the children with disabilities, and bless them for what they have to endure for the rest of their life. But I can tell you that I believe that, well, I sort of hope this is the case, that people in the field of education and government are looking around and saying, why are there so many children with the, in ESE, with IEPs? I know my son did not get an IEP until 11th grade, and he had an actual disability, and he still has an actual disability. And it's just surprising to see how many people have IEPs. Is there some money involved? Probably, right? I'm sort of guessing, but if we're going to look at this and really meet the needs of the children, that need these accommodations and services. The whole point of it is so that they have the post-secondary opportunities, right? That everyone else is supposed to have. It appears we're dumbing down America. If we can't pass the standards, then maybe we should lower them. I'm not sure that's a good plan of action, especially since at this point, if you look at this country, it's a melting pot, and I'm not sure you're going to find any medium ground. You're going to have lots of kids out there who are highly accelerated. You're going to have some lower kids, and all of these needs are going to need to be met, because ESEA, that act of 1965, reinforced by NCLB and ESSA, says that all students are to be taught the same content standards and are to be given the same assessments, standardized assessments, all of them. Even that small 10% of children with disabilities who are supposed to be under the 1% cap per state to take alternate assessments are aligned to the same content standards. It's just that the performance levels are tweaked mildly. But when it comes to that, I believe that there needs to be greater notice of what happens to those that do go along the alternate assessment path. As I mentioned, it affects the post-secondary opportunities. This is lifelong. The decisions that we are making for these children, these young children, that the placement decisions, the testing decisions, the labeling decisions, these are going to impact them for the rest of their life. So they better be good decisions. And I believe I mentioned earlier, sadly, in my son's case, sheesh, it does not get any better. It does not get any better. It does not get any better. So my hope is that there are some people out there who you have a voice. You have a movement somewhere. There has to be a spark of good left and federal government to look out for things, to make these changes, to not look at some big states along the Gulf of Mexico as a blueprint for education, because it certainly is not where that place exists in the United States of America. I still have not located. It seems that everyone is pretty much floating around in this cesspool. Pick a federal institution. That's what I would say. Yes, so that was alternate assessments. That's describing the 10%. Now, I'm going to talk about something else, because I know that with ESSA, Every Student Succeed Acts, there was more discussion about ELL, English Language Learners. So a note on that. As far as English language learners, yes, of course, could be part of that 10% of the students with disabilities who would qualify the most significantly cognitively impaired. And now that's not an intelligence test alone. I mean, we are talking about all of these things I mentioned earlier from the IEP domains, adaptive living skills. I mean, an intelligence test does not indicate necessarily intellectual disability, in my opinion. So if you have ELLs that are not considered within that 1%, the 10% total, there's no alternate assessment. There is one test that is an annual English language proficiency that tests the levels for all of those students between K through 12. But still, ESSA does not remove the requirement for those students to take the state standard tests. Does not reduce it. So, I mean, maybe that's where some of those percentages are lost. Title I funds, it seems ESA were somehow associated with assessments, and that's a very interesting finding, I would have to say. So now, this is something that's very important. and I'm going to say this, and then this is sort of my last point. It's backing into a disability. So before a student can be put on access points and allowed to take alternate assessments, which is a very, very, very big decision for that child, there's a requirement that the prior school year that child was taught by a certified teacher for 80% of the prior school year. In my world, a certified teacher would be someone who has a degree. A certified teacher would be someone who's passed all of the 4 general knowledge tests. A certified teacher would be someone who passes the professional ethics test. A certified teacher would be someone who has, like me, for example, one of my certifications is K through 6 primary education. So I had to pass 4 tests to get that certification. I would assume that a qualified, a certified teacher in ESE would have some sort or some form of ESE education and ESE degree, or I would guess. And then at that point, you pass another certification exam, which is the K through 12 ESE certification exam. I also have that one. ESE, Exceptional Student Education, is the equivalent of special education. Okay, another certification, K through 12 reading. That's another one I have. I mean, those would be teachers who would be teaching certified teachers for these kids, right? Because if we look at specific learning disabilities, that cannot be granted to a child unless they have evidence that they received high quality ELA and mathematics instruction prior. Okay, so that 80% of what I was talking about for that decision before a child is able to be moved to access points or to alternate assessments must have been taught by a certified teacher for 80% of the prior school year. And that's where it leads me into what I am seeing, because I do believe there's way too many children that are in these clusters and in these pods, and going forth. I mean, children are our future, and we really need to take note. Those decision making really need to be much better informed about what they're putting out there. We are backing into disabilities. If there are students that for some reason don't fall within the easy of the mass of a general education classroom, it seems to me like that's whenever the IEP route may come up, and like I said, it took me going back to get a master's degree in special education for my kid to get the IEP in 11th grade, because I had to understand all of this law. But now you can probably buy them. Yeah. But anyway, backing into a disability. So, and a lot of that I think is resting on these types of assessments that we are using, that I truly do not believe. I don't believe they're representative of students' abilities. They're not measuring against standards. They're taken away from classroom instruction. A solid curriculum with solid standards. Teaching that is the key. But energies are scattered everywhere, and we are lost. We are lost as a country. Likely as a world. So on that note, I hope this made some sense, and I hope all of you have a good week, and I guess I will continue to be here talking to you until my happy ship sails. Okay? Have a good one.